My name is Néstor. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and I've been in New York City since 2002. I always felt very different from everybody else from very little. One, I was the overweight kid, so it was always being pushed on the side. But I didn't realize I was gay until in my early 20s. It wasn't easy, of course. It's a very sexist country and this sexist culture. I think now it's a little bit different, but back then people were a little bit more quiet about those kind of things. But I had some what I would call mentors in my life at the time, and that helped me get into that realization. It was also easy because at that time I had also lost a lot of weight, so that weight, not the physical but also the emotional weight, was already kind of like dissipated. I guess my only expectation for both the communities when I was still in Puerto Rico and when I was in New York City and when I moved to New York City were that it was going to be a very open-minded space, that I was going to be myself and didn't have to fulfill any rules or any specific behaviors or anything like that. I found the community a little bit hard to get into, mostly because it's basically, I broke up with all of these ideas of how I'm supposed to be, and now I'm joining a community and they're asking me to fill up certain rules or certain ways of thinking of things that I'm supposed to like. So it's a little bit hard for me. It's like, wait, but I left all of that behind and I'm supposed to just be whoever I want to. And there's all these rules and labels that you're supposed to have when you're in the community. And there's a lot of superficiality that it was also very hard for me to navigate. So it wasn't that easy, but it took me some time, but I was able to find people that were not like that. They were more towards the queer spectrum of the community. And that's how the people that I identify with the most. I think I'd experience life on a day-to-day basis as a combination of everything. I'm a Latino, I have that sensibility. I am a white person, I'm becoming very aware of that, what that means. But I'm also queer, and I carry that on a daily basis on how I see media, how I interact with people. So I never really thought of myself as a person of color after a couple of years of living here in the States, when suddenly a friend of mine referred to me as a person of color, and I was like, what? Was very confused at first, and I still feel a little bit confused, but I understand the dialogue within the US more now than I used to in the past, so I understand why I'm that other person that's from across the border, and that's why why I'm a person of color. But I still feel a little bit guilty about calling myself a person of color, because I know I have white privilege because I pass as a white person, but I feel guilty about taking the space as a person of color because my struggle is completely different than, let's say, an African American. It's a little bit of a harsher environment for them than it is for me. So if there's a workshop or there's a grant for a person of color, sometimes I'm like, well, I really have all this white privilege. Maybe I should leave that for a person that really needs this space. So that's the guilt. I think I would love to see more of an organic coming out story rather than actually saying, this is my coming out story, where it's just like the person realizes by themselves, oh, I think I'm gravitate more towards this than that, and just not be an event where it's just natural, a natural process for the person. I think maybe at some point we don't need to define a community per se, because it's just a natural way of being, and just being able to interact with everybody else without any problems or any definitions.